All right, now that I have my StarFive set up with a Hailo8 chip in it, I'm going to verify that we are actually seeing it. We do. All right, now it's going to get a little trickier for getting the Hailo driver, the PCIe driver for this, but we'll see how well we can get by. Let's start with, so we verified that. Let's make sure our packages are up to date. Well, first, let me make sure my date looks good for this one. Yep, because I've been having a problem with the clock synchronization despite using NTP. So as long as I leave this thing powered on, it seems to be okay. But when date gets out of sync, SSL or TLS can fail. So that means updating your packages can fail. In some cases, like it may show that the Ubuntu certificate might be not be valid for another few hours. That's something I've come across a few times. This StarFive Tech Debian repo has actually been pretty unstable as well. I noticed that I don't actually see it up and online every day. Sometimes it's either just offline, which looks like offline right now, or it may show a 403 forbidden, and then some days it works. So I don't know what's going on with StarFive and their Debian repo. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they haven't really developed their own version of the Hailo package for this, because who in their right mind would throw an AI chip on an extremely low-powered RISC-V 64 processor? All right, but we'll see how it goes. So let's see. Apt install -y build essential EKMS git PCI utils Linux -headers this may not work right here because of the StarFive repos being down, but we'll see. And I'm showing that already having those. Okay, that's great. What about Hailo-all? Fingers crossed this actually works. Yep. Nobody has built the Hailo package. Right, so we're going to end up having to probably download a Git repo and manually compile the drivers. The first thing I'm going to need to do is make sure I have all of my build utilities installed. This is way too many to load there one by one. Copy and paste that. It'll probably take a little bit of time. Some of those are already installed. Oh, GI dev. Let's get rid of that one. Right. Those are chugging along. I'm going to get the next copy and paste ready, because what we're going to have to do is download the runtime repository. We're going to use the git command for that. Oh yes, and that Python 3-gi-dev is deprecated, but we're already fully covered by the lib gi repository 1.0-dev. And then the runtime bindings are simply Python 3-GI. So we will install Python 3-GI to fix that issue. So I had the choice between putting an NVMe 2242 drive in this or a Hailo 8, which originally was 2282 in size, but it had snap offs, so you could snap it all the way down to 24, 22, or 2242. And so I went ahead and did that. In my other StarFive, I put the NVMe drive in. Not sure what I'm going to use that one for yet. These StarFives are pretty slow compared to the Raspberry Pi 5s, maybe even compared to the Raspberry Pi 02s. Almost done. All right. I'm going to try that Python 3-GI. All right, that one is already installed. Okay, cool. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clone something, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be able to reuse this GitHub repo, so I'm going to throw it in my share. And we've got, let's go to V8. These are some scripts that I've created to help with that. Let's clone the runtime. See, so if we look, we now have a Hailo RT directory. See what's in there. We can look at the README. It probably has some similar instructions. Maybe not. All right. Anyway, let's run CMake and see if we are actually able to build this for RISC v64. Right now we're configuring the build system, and then after this we're going to compile and install the Hailo runtime. All right, protocol buffers being built. That took a while to start that. Progress. All right, finally it finished compiling. That process overall, I think it took about an hour and a half. So one thing I want to make sure is that the direct memory access file made it over. That doesn't always happen. It really depends. So let's see, it would be in user local include Hailo. Hey, and it did make it over there. Okay, great. This Hailo DMA heap, Hailo RT underscore DMA dash heap dot H. All right, that is fantastic. Now we're going to see, does Hailo real-time CLI actually recognize it now? CLI, W control, identify. No, it does not. Okay. Let's go ahead. Let's reboot just for safe measure. All right, there we go. It is back. Okay, let's go back into that. All right. Clear that. Let's try that again. Still nothing. There's a couple things we could check. Is there a device? There should be Hailo devices. There are not. There is nothing there either. So there's a kernel module. It's not loading. Not being seen there. LSPCI. We do see it there. So hardware is working. So it looks like it's more of a software potential issue. So let's try to manually load that module. It'll be mod, because we already compiled it and installed it. Mod probe Hailo underscore PCI. Ooh, not found. All right, since this is not showing up as a module, we're going to go and make sure we manually compile it. We'll go into our V8 Hailo directory, and we need to clone another GitHub repo and compile some drivers. So we are going to clone Hailo rt-drivers.git. Okay, now that we've done that, I'm going to go into that drivers directory, and we're going to go into Linux, and we're going to go into PCIe, and this is where we're going to need to compile the driver. So looks clean already, but just to make sure. All right, and I'm going to do a copy paste of this. We're going to target our current kernel. All right, so that is going to make or compile the driver for us. That was pretty quick. Now let's install that. Okay, now let's check to see if, let's see, rebuild our dependencies. Dep mod -a, uname -r, sudo mod probe Hailo_PCI. Still not found. Okay. Up, and looks like if we just look at the actual compiled code there, it was actually Hailo1x_PCI. So let's try that. Hailo1x_PCI. Beautiful. That worked. Okay. Now to go back to our Hailo RT FW control identify. Oh, Hailo RT CLI. Still nothing. Okay, let's see. We do our, make sure that the module loaded. ls mod rep Hailo. It did. We're going to check dmessage to see if that has any info. Okay, so we should see more messages in this. This right here is letting us know that the software itself is loaded, but what may be happening here, StarFive is kind of aggressive with power management. So let's try and force a PCI bus rescan. Okay, and now let's run that dmessage command again. Still nothing. Okay. So if nothing, this is likely that the board has cut communications to the NVMe slot. So what we're going to do is maybe disable the active state power management, just in case that is what was turning the device off. So let's do vi. Let's get out of this long directory. Sudo vi/boot extlinux extlinux.conf, and we're going to look for the line that starts with let's see, it's going to start with append. It's going to contain root equal, okay, right here. And what we're going to want is we're going to just add, we're going to append something to the very end of this line. Say PCIe ASPM equal off. That way does not, hopefully won't turn off power to the NVMe drive or the NVMe device. And we will reboot. See if that helps. For that, we should probably make sure that the module is located. Make sure it's set to actually load on boot. By doing that, we're gonna do sudo vi/etc/modules, and let's add Hailo1x_PCI. Make sure on boot that it will load. All right. All right. Took about a minute to reboot. Bring networking back up at least. check the message. Okay. We should still be seeing more because part of the problem might be the fact that it's loading version 5 of the driver 530. And from what I understand, what I've researched, this driver dropped support for the Hailo8. This is exclusively supporting the Hailo10. So we're going to have to check out an older branch. So we need to unload that driver. And then we're going to remove. /kernel drivers / misc Hailo1x _ PCI.ko. Dep mod -a. On edit. Comment this out for now too, just in case. Oops. Okay. So we're going to try and get version 4.19. Let's do get fetch -all -all. We're going to check out version 4.19.0. Okay. Now let's go back in. Should see Linux, Linux. Should see CIE. Make clean. Get rid of all the other stuff that it compiled. Make all -j. And proc cater equals lib modules rename -r/build. Let's make sure that syntax looks okay before we move on. Make all j output of nproc cater. Okay. And so this one might actually end up, okay, so this one is the Hailo PCI, not Hailo1x, okay, which is what we were actually working with earlier. So sudo make install. Now let's try and mod probe that. Sudo mod probe Hailo_PCI. Sudo vmessage rep -i Hailo. We should see a ton of messages now, and we do. Okay, we're getting closer. Now let's see, do we actually have /dev/Hailo? We don't have /dev/Hailo yet. We're going to have to downgrade our user space runtime as well. So let's go into that directory. the same thing, fetch dash dash all. Oops. Dash dash all. Git check out the 4.19.0. Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and see if this will help us with something else too. Sudo dep mod a. Change this to the appropriate version. Okay. I'm not looking forward to building this because this next step will take a long time. So we need to delete that build directory. Then we're going to do our cmake dash capital S, current directory, hb build cmake underscore build underscore type equals release. Let's see. All right. These Hailo NPUs, especially when you go with one that's a little bit older and then running on slower hardware like the StarFive, you know, we may get through this whole process and realize, okay, StarFive can't really handle it. I think if we run into another issue here, one of the next things I'm going to do, maybe I'll swap out the power supply to make sure we're getting more power to the StarFive. Right now I'm feeding it 20 watts. I think that 20 watts with a max of probably 3 amps. So I might consider upgrading it. The downside of the StarFive powered, it does not support the power delivery or PD protocol. So it will not negotiate because it does not have a PD chip on it. So what you send it is what it's going to get. But yeah, I'm sending 20 watts right now. I might see if I can send 25 watts. If this doesn't work. Although the 20 watts that I'm giving my other one, which is using an NVMe drive to boot with, is working fine. Configuring done, 212 seconds. Okay, now let's sudo cmake -- build, the build directory, big release, -- target install, and we'll tell it nproc again. Right, that compiling finished, and I've confirmed lsmod is showing the module loaded. Big check we're going to do is, will the Hailo RT CLI command, first to see what version it is, make sure we're on the, yep, we're on the right version. Will it detect, will it identify? It does not. We've already done some of the basic steps there, so let's look at the message output, grep for Hailo, and let's just look at the last 15 lines of that. Failed to write, error -2. So the area where this wants firmware to live, I believe, is in /lib/firmware for this device. We do not have a Hailo directory there. Gonna need to download the firmware itself. So we need to go back to, there should be a download firmware script inside of our drivers. There is a download firmware. Take a look at that real quick. It's going to download it from EC2. Okay, it is set for the version and for the Hailo8. That's good. It is downloading. All right, where did he put you? Right here, sudo make dir /lib/firmware Hailo, so it doesn't exist yet, and sudo, move that firmware to /lib/firmware Hailo, and we're going to call it what, if we look up above, it would have been expecting Hailo/Hailo8_FW.bin. We will use that. Okay, and then we're going to make sure that it has read permissions for everybody. Okay, now what we're going to do is, we know that we verified that that module was loaded earlier, so we want to unload it and then load it again. So we want to sudo rm mod Hailo_PCI, sudo mod probe Hailo_PCI. Now let's see if our error message went away. Firmware loaded successfully. Hallelujah. Written successfully. And it created our device, dev Hailo0. So now the final run here, Hailo RT CLI FW-control identify. Oh no. Failed to open. All right, I might not have permissions on that file, so let's sudo it. There we go. One more piece to actually put together here is we do want to make sure, because we had that permissions issue, we want to make sure that there are udev rules set aside, set up for this. So I will copy the udev rules over to the udev rules.d directory, and then we will reload that daemon. So sudo udev admin control --reload rules, and then we also want to trigger those, the admin trigger. All right, and then now let's see if we can actually run it without sudo privileges. There we go. Very nice. How cool is that? StarFive VisionFive 2 Lite has a 26 TOPS Hailo8 NPU Now that that's working, what I would like to do is run some benchmarks, see how it performs. So I know I have some on my shared drive, but what I want to do is, I don't want to add the network as a possible bottleneck. So I'm going to copy the files over. Let's create a folder called models. And we're going to CP all the relevant models for this board. Let's see what ones are there. We're going to do anything underscore H8 dot anything. Oh, I am to this directory. Okay. We have 4 models available right off the bat. Probably end up making a few more, but let's see how these perform. W. Hello, RT. And we want, so let's just try the smallest one there first. Ooh, that's pretty sad. 15, 16 frames per second, 18. That's not nearly as good as what we had with our 8L, which is the lower model but that one's on a Raspberry Pi. Okay, 20. Still, this is good enough to offload some different types of workloads to it. Latency 43 milliseconds. Look at that, less than 1 watt of power though. All right, we're gonna run another one. Let's do the largest one there. Getting higher frames per second. I'm curious if we run this again, the same exact file. All right, 36, 35. I might have to give it a better power supply. Right now I'm just using a 20 watts. I think it maxes out at like 3 amps. So I might need to look for something that could give it a little bit more amperage. The thing with these StarFive VisionFives is they don't have a PD chip, so it doesn't support negotiating. So whatever power you feed it, that's what it's going to take. And then again, see if that does that any fast. It's actually slower. Okay, nope. It'll probably speed up. Stay tuned to see what I do with this.